Dr. Chan was well known in the area for his healing skills and knowledge of all diseases. One day, he received a very serious invitation from a farmer's house in the village. Following the tour guide, he walked for more than 20 minutes to reach the place. According to the guide, his father seemed to be in a critical condition.
"Hurry up, doctor. My father can't take it anymore."
Arriving in front of the house, the man opened the old gate and invited Dr. Chan inside. As he led the doctor inside, he hurriedly called out to his mother.
"Mother, I invited Dr. Chan to come here."
The mother had just come out, repeatedly urging him in because she was afraid that her husband's condition would not make him last long. The mother invited Dr. Chan inside while talking about her husband's situation. Her husband just got sick 2 days ago and was getting worse very quickly. The person lying on the bed was an older man with a pale face and wide open mouth and eyes rolled backwards. Dr. Chan approached to examine the man's situation. The older man rolled his eyes, panicking and continuously shouting,
"It hurts so much. They are crawling all over me. Please kill me. I'm in so much pain."
A blanket covered the older man, so Dr. Chan didn't know what the man's problem was. So Dr. Chan decided to come and see what was under the blanket. But when he approached, the man strongly reacted to Dr. Chan. He pushed Dr. Chan away. It seemed that the disease had made the man panic and no longer aware of his surroundings. But with his years of experience, Dr. Chan quickly convinced the man to be examined. Despite following the doctor's orders, the older man still seemed to be very uncomfortable and afraid. As soon as he lifted the blanket, Dr. Chan was amazed to see the patient's current condition. The older man's belly was monstrously bulged. Suddenly, the older man appeared to be in pain, as if just moving could make his whole body suffer. Dr. Chan now seemed to understand the older man's condition, so he told the older man's son and wife to hold him tightly. Both of them joined forces to be able to hold the older man down, even though he was struggling with pain. After the older man was held tightly, Dr. Chan unbuttoned the older man's shirt, revealing a tight, swollen abdomen full of veins and blood. Dr. Chan now looked thoughtfully at the large and protruding belly of what looked like tendons. They were all very large and swollen on the skin of the older man's abdomen. But strangely, these tendons could move, or rather, it looked like worms or parasites inside of him. Dr. Chan seemed to have understood the problem. He turned to take out the acupuncture needles from the toolbox. The needles were long and sharp, but Dr. Chan believed that they could definitely help the older man now. Dr. Chan just stopped thinking for a moment, then started his treatment. Acupuncture needles were inserted into the older man's belly in sequence. Dr. Chan was very good at this acupuncture method. After a while, acupuncture needles were quickly inserted all over the man's belly, and the things that looked like worms also started to stop moving. And a few minutes later, they disappeared completely, no longer visible on the skin of the older man's belly. The older man now also began to calm down, feeling less pain, and was able to rest for a while. The son seemed very worried about his father. He hurriedly asked Dr. Chan what strange illness his father was suffering from. Dr. Chan did not talk directly about the disease at this time, but he began to learn more about the time the older man got sick. Dr. Chan said to the son, "Your father had been infected with a type of poisonous parasite. If left for any longer, it would consume all of his organs. The situation is very dire." The son asked Dr. Chan if his father would be saved. The wife also said that her husband suddenly became strange a few days ago after cutting grass to feed the cows. That's when he began to feel sick. Upon hearing that, Dr. Chan quickly asked her about the location of the lawn, as he wanted the patient's family to lead him there to check it out and inspect. According to his mother's description, the son also knew the location of the lawn area. By the time it was getting dark, the son had already started taking Dr. Chan because it was around wild grass growing relatively far from their home. On the way, the son still didn't understand why his father's illness had something to do with the wild grass. But Dr. Chan still didn't explain anything. He had his own conclusions. After walking quite a distance, the son said they were almost there. They just have to go behind the cliff and they would arrive. When he arrived, Dr. Chan was amazed and also afraid. It seemed that his suspicions were correct. In front of them was a bunch of weeds, as tall as people and at first glance, as normal as any other type of weed. Dr. Chan and the son started to walk closer to the grassy area. The doctor was extremely wary, but the son didn't know what was going on. Dr. Chan walked and looked around like he was looking for something. Finally he found what he was looking for. Seeing that they had been gone for quite a long time from home, and with the doctor being extremely quiet without telling him about his father's condition, the son began to worry. At this point, Dr. Chan began to explain to the son the cause of the appearance of the parasites. A parasite caused his father's illness. They were infecting and sucking blood from his father's belly fat. The parasite was born from a strange worm, and it only reproduced on this type of weed. After that, Dr. Chan started rummaging through his tool bag. The son still didn't understand what Dr. Chan was going to do. Then Dr. Chan gave the son a thick scarf that looked like it was sewn with many layers. The two began to approach the weeds, and Dr. Chan needed to experiment a bit to be sure to find something that could treat the patient. After a while of searching, Dr. Chan reached out and picked a branch of the tree which grew among the weeds. Indeed, if they looked at it with the naked eye, it would be difficult to distinguish this plant in the middle of a vast lawn. Even the son was very surprised. Dr. Chan held up the branch high and asked the son to look closely above the small leaves, which were the eggs of the parasites. At this point, the son was starting to get scared but still wanted to know what it was, so he also looked at the leaf. And indeed, on the surface of the leaves, there were some seeds, tiny as white as a grain of rice. When he tried to take a closer look, the son suddenly realized that they were eggs and covered with thin membrane-like spider silk. The son wondered, this thing was so small, how could it cause such a terrible disease? Dr. Chan didn't explain much. He just asked the son to take a good look at what he does next. Dr. Chan rummaged through his pocket and pulled out a small vial. Then he gave it to the son, telling him to apply it on his face and hands. Applying this drug would help avoid insects, even those parasitic larvae that attacked the body. After that, Dr. Chan started going deep into the grass, like he was looking for something. The weeds around here were taller than a person's head, so there was a lot of potential for danger. In the end, it seemed that Dr. Chan had found something important that could help cure the older man's illness. After reaching out to pick a tree branch, Dr. Chan showed it to the son. There were many small purple fruits on the branch, which looked very strange. Dr. Chan held it out in front of the son and told him to look for more fruits like this. It grew from the same tree on which the poisonous parasites lay their eggs. Dr. Chan told him to look carefully and pick a lot to bring back to save his father. The two began to split up to find and pick the strange fruit which only reproduced on this plant, and only its fruit could kill those parasites. In just a moment, the two were able to pick a lot of fruit. After getting out of the weeds, Dr. Chan suddenly took a small knife and cut a small cut on his finger. The son was extremely surprised but still very quiet, watching Dr. Chan. Next, Dr. Chan began to drip his own blood from the cut. The drop of blood fell directly onto the leaf containing the small larva eggs. At this moment, the son was putting the leaf on the handkerchief and holding it in his hand. What happened next made him extremely scared. After the drop of blood permeated the egg sacs, they seemed to begin to move. From within the tiny eggs, strange creatures looking like small worms began to break the egg sac and came out. At first, they were just bigger than a thread, but after they sucked all the blood on the leaf, they suddenly became as big as chopsticks. They gradually got bigger and bigger. In an instant, they almost filled out the entire handkerchief the son was holding, making him shiver with fear. At that moment, Dr. Chan took the purple fruit he had just picked. He gently squeezed the fruit and it immediately oozed a purple liquid. After that, he directly dripped it onto a parasite. Miraculously, the purple juice from the wild fruit worked. The poisonous parasite began to writhe in pain and then withered and died. Seeing these things, the son also understood what the doctor wanted to say. Suddenly, Dr. Chan seemed to remember something. He glanced at these weeds and thought for a moment. But now, it was getting dark. They needed to go home with this pile of purple fruit quickly. The doctor did not forget to ask the son if anyone had known this lawn area, and Dr. Chan began to worry when he looked closely at the weeds behind him. He was worried that if he continued to leave this lawn and this dangerous plant here, more people would be harmed. So Dr. Chan asked more carefully if this land was owned by anyone or not. Because the older man's condition was critical, they didn't talk much but quickly went home to treat him. Arriving home, Dr. Chan gave the bunch of plants to the wife and told her to get a basin and squeeze all the juice of these purple fruits into it. After squeezing the juice, Dr. Chan began to pull out all the needles that had been inserted into the older man's belly in the first place. Within those purple fruits seemed to be a lot of liquid, so a full basin was squeezed out. Dr. Chan said to the wife, "Take this wet towel and wipe your husband all over his body." This method would cause pain to the parasites and was intended to force the parasites out of the patient. Following Dr. Chan's instructions, the wife quickly wiped it all over her husband and then they allowed a few minutes so that the purple juice could penetrate the skin. A few minutes later, when the time came, Dr. Chan held a small scalpel. He cut an extended cut on the patient's wrist. This would be the way for the parasites to escape. And yes, after the purple water had penetrated into the skin, the parasites began to ache and increasingly wiggle beneath the older man's skin. They were crawling around and seemed to be looking for a way to get out. The sight was terrifying. Witnessing what happened in front of their eyes, the wife was terrified, wondering if her husband could stand it. Seeing that Dr. Chan tried his best to comfort her, everything would be resolved soon. At this point, the parasites began to appear all over the older man's body. It turned out that they had proliferated a lot in his stomach and were now trying to crawl out. The parasites eventually discovered the cut on the older man's wrist, so they started making their way there. In an instant, they began to crawl out from the wound on the older man's wrist. The scene was gruesome. Long parasites like worms were jostling to escape the older man's body. At a glance, these parasites were fat and red. It seemed that they had sucked a lot of blood from the older man's body. And after only a few minutes, all the parasites came out from the mouth of the wound. Underneath the floor, Dr. Chan also left a basin of purple fruit juice, so they fell straight into it. The purple juice began to work, directly killing those fat parasites. They withered and decomposed utterly, leaving only a pungent stench like the smell of carrion. After the parasites had all escaped, the older man's body started returning to normal. Dr. Chan turned back and informed the son and his mother that his father was out of danger. Dr. Chan advised a few more things to take better care of the older man. After a few days of rest, he would get better. After that, Dr. Chan also said goodbye to the older man's family because he needed to handle something important. Because he already had a plan in mind, Dr. Chan decided to deal with this problem decisively. Otherwise, many more people would be harmed by this poisonous parasite. That night, Dr. Chan walked towards the weed area in the afternoon. He lit a fire and burned it all. He hoped that no one would be accidentally infected with this blood-sucking parasite ever again.
This strange story takes place at the home of Dr. Chan, a skilled and virtuous physician, held in high regard by the local people. One late afternoon in late autumn, Dr. Chan was meditating on the earthen bed inside his house, a habit he had maintained for many years. Qigong has existed for thousands of years. For some reason, in recent years, it has come to be regarded as mere trickery, but the kind Dr. Chan practiced couldn't be compared to the charlatanism found on the streets. That day, as Dr. Chan was channeling energy throughout his body, he suddenly heard rapid knocking at the door, interspersed with a strange scratching sound, as if someone wasn't just knocking but also clawing at the door panel. Dr. Chan immediately got off the bed and quickly went to open the door, fearing someone was urgently ill and he might delay in attending to them. However, when the door swung open, Dr. Chan froze in surprise. There was absolutely no one outside. Not only at the door, but the entire courtyard was empty. Then who was knocking just now? Dr. Chan asked himself. While still bewildered, the doctor suddenly heard someone calling his name, the sound originating from a low position directly in front of him. Dr. Chan looked down and was instantly taken aback, almost amused. There were 3 people standing right in front of him, but because they were so short, he hadn't seen them at first. They earnestly pleaded with him to come examine an elderly woman at their home who was critically ill. Immediately afterward, Dr. Chan was utterly astonished. These individuals were only about a meter tall. While he had occasionally seen short people in the region, he couldn't recall an entire family like this. Furthermore, these people had sharp faces, sunken cheeks, and peculiar expressions. Seeing Dr. Chan remain silent, they assumed he was unwilling to go, fumbled for a moment, and then produced payment that seemed prepared in advance. Dr. Chan was stunned yet again. They were holding several gleaming golden beans in their hands. It was truly bizarre. Nobody used such things for payment anymore. Dr. Chan didn't immediately accept, merely saying he needed to see the patient first. He slung his medicine bag over his shoulder and went out the door with them. As soon as he stepped outside, Dr. Chan's heart leaped again. A sedan chair was unexpectedly waiting by the door, with 4 more short people, slightly taller than a meter, standing beside it, ready to carry him. The others were very polite, quickly stepping forward to lift the curtain of the sedan chair, inviting Dr. Chan to quickly get in. As Dr. Chan settled inside the sedan chair, he understood clearly. The ones who had invited him this time were certainly not human. He couldn't be sure exactly what they were, but saving lives was his duty, and besides, with his own skills, he wasn't afraid of them. He carefully lifted the curtain of the sedan chair, trying not to let them notice. He wanted to see where they were taking him. As soon as he looked out, he realized the sedan chair was heading straight into the mountains and at an extremely fast speed. The trees outside were whizzing backward. Throughout the journey, Dr. Chan felt as though the sedan chair was gliding swiftly through mist. Although the speed felt immense, Dr. Chan felt no bumps inside the sedan chair. It was incredibly smooth, feeling buoyant as if floating through the air. Dr. Chan felt the sedan chair traveled for only about 3 or 4 more minutes before stopping. Immediately after, the curtain was lifted, and a short person with a smiling face told him, "Dr. Chan, we've arrived. Please step out." As Dr. Chan stepped out of the sedan chair, he thought, calculating the total travel time, no matter how fast they went, they couldn't possibly have left the village yet. How could they have arrived already? But as he stepped down, the scene before him left Dr. Chan utterly astonished. He had never seen the surroundings before. Towering ancient trees stood on all sides, and before him loomed a large, imposing complex of buildings. Dozens of people stood before the courtyard gate, each only about a meter tall, all staring intently at him with their small eyes. At this point, Dr. Chan truly began to regret coming. These beings with their small, sinister eyes didn't seem like good folk. If it were just 4 or 5, he could handle them, but with so many, he really wasn't sure. But realizing it was too late for second thoughts, Dr. Chan ignored them and strode directly into the courtyard. Upon entering the room, Dr. Chan saw a large antique-style bed, upon which lay an old woman so aged her years were impossible to guess. One of the short people introduced her as their matriarch and asked him to examine her. As soon as he saw the patient, Dr. Chan focused his entire attention on the examination, no longer concerned about the strange beings outside the door. When he saw the old woman's wound, Dr. Chan was startled. Her thin arm was covered in festering sores. Small ulcers sunk deep, and embedded within them were numerous iron pellets, emitting a strong, foul odor. Seeing these festering, decaying wounds, Dr. Chan immediately understood the situation. Treating this type of injury was something he was quite confident about. The wound was caused by homemade shotguns firing scrap iron pellets, common in rural areas. This type of ammunition leaves countless iron fragments embedded in the flesh, causing immense pain to the injured. The others confirmed that the old woman had been shot by a hunting gun while out a few days prior. Dr. Chan washed his hands thoroughly, picked up his sterilized small forceps, and began to treat the wound, carefully removing each tiny iron pellet. At the beginning, every time the forceps touched a pellet embedded in the flesh, the old woman grimaced in pain, occasionally letting out miserable groans. Seeing the old woman cry out pitifully, the people behind Dr. Chan gradually began to show fierce expressions towards him, looking as if they might attack at any moment. Dr. Chan gritted his teeth, ignoring them patiently and carefully removing all the scrap iron, cutting away the necrotic tissue, applying medicine, and then bandaging the wound for the old woman. Only when everything was finished did Dr. Chan wipe his hands and turn around, seeing the short people bowing respectfully in gratitude as they looked at the old woman, who now appeared peaceful and relieved. They then invited Dr. Chan back into the sedan chair. Again, he experienced the sensation of floating swiftly through the misty night as they transported him back. Returning home that night, Dr. Chan encountered nothing unusual, but the next morning he woke very early, much earlier than usual. He woke up early with a specific purpose, to find out who exactly those people from last night were. It turned out that the previous night, while sitting in the sedan chair, Dr. Chan hadn't been idle. He had brought some dried wolfberries in his pocket. Along the way, at intervals, he had secretly dropped a wolfberry to mark the path. Fearing early birds might eat the markers, Dr. Chan woke extremely early and followed the trail of wolfberries up the mountain. But the further he walked, the stranger Dr. Chan felt. Last night's sedan chair ride took only about 3 or 4 minutes, but this morning he had been walking for over half an hour and still hadn't arrived. Mentally calculating, he estimated he had walked at least 7 or 8 kilometers along the mountain path, yet there was still no sign of any large compound. Only after walking another 2 or 3 kilometers, passing through a forest, did Dr. Chan reach a clearing. And here, the wolfberry trail disappeared. It was then Dr. Chan realized he had arrived beside an unremarkable deserted tomb. He didn't know whose it was. It looked very old, and the tombstone was broken beyond recognition. Just then, Dr. Chan saw a small hole at the side of the deserted tomb, and from that hole emerged a fox. Dr. Chan immediately hid in the bushes. Within moments, many large foxes emerged one after another from the deserted tomb. Among them was an old fox with somewhat faded silver fur. Notably, its front paw was bandaged with medical gauze, and the bandaging style was clearly Dr. Chan's own work. At this point, he completely understood. It turned out that the family who sought his medical help the night before was this family of foxes, and the place he had visited was their den. Dr. Chan didn't dwell much on this matter. He continued his daily routine, traveling between villages to treat people. However, from that day on, dead wild chickens and rabbits frequently appeared at his doorstep. This strange story took place nearly 40 years ago in a poor rural area. In those years, when villagers fell ill, few could afford to go to the large city hospitals. Everyone turned to the village doctors. They were often affectionately called farmer doctors. Dr. Chan was just such a farmer doctor. At dusk, he was preparing to gather the herbs he had been drying all day. Just then, the courtyard gate was pushed open, and a panicked young man entered. He rushed in breathlessly, exclaiming that his wife was about to give birth but was having difficulties. He was a young man from the neighboring village, explaining his wife was having a difficult labor. It had been over half a day, and the baby hadn't arrived. The midwife was flustered. He pleaded for Dr. Chan to come quickly and see what could be done. Having said this, the anxious young man asked to hurry back first to be with his wife. Dr. Chan, concerned for the mother and baby's safety, didn't even take time to gather his herbs, but immediately went inside to prepare his medical kit. Just as the young man ran out the front door, Dr. Chan had already slung the medical kit onto his back and immediately set off at a brisk pace towards the neighboring village. In those years, the rural doctor's small medical kit was highly symbolic, much like the postman's green mailbag, a memory of an entire era. Inside the kit were all sorts of things capable of handling almost any medical issue. Back then, rural doctors didn't adhere to strict working hours. Whenever a patient called, no matter the time, they would go immediately to provide care. That evening, as Dr. Chan left the village with his medical kit, dusk was already falling. West of the village flowed a small stream. As he reached the bank, preparing to cross, he saw a woman sitting there, her head bowed. Dr. Chan found this a bit strange. At this hour in the countryside, everyone, especially women, would have returned home for dinner. Why was someone crying by the stream now? Being a naturally helpful person, Dr. Chan approached and asked the girl whose family she belonged to and why she was crying. The girl, looking anxious, pleaded for his help. The girl explained that the rising water had flooded the bridge, and she dared not cross because she was still weak from illness. Hearing this, Dr. Chan understood. The stream had indeed swollen recently, submerging the stone bridge with water more than 20 centimeters deep. Afraid of the water and weakened by illness, the girl didn't dare to wade across, hence her tearful anxiety. Moreover, she had urgent business in the village across the stream. Hearing this, Dr. Chan told her not to cry anymore. Since he had to cross the stream himself, he offered to carry her across on his back as well. Dr. Chan, being a straightforward man, took off his shoes and carried the girl across the flooded section of the bridge. As soon as he lifted her onto his back, he noticed she was surprisingly light and her body felt unnaturally cold. It was early autumn and the stream water was still chilly. As Dr. Chan waded through the ankle-deep water, he thought about how difficult the situation must be for the girl. However, while crossing the stone bridge, the woman remained silent, her body trembling as if in great fear. Dr. Chan reassured her, "Don't be afraid, we're almost to the bank." The bridge wasn't long, and they reached the other bank in less than a minute. Dr. Chan then gently set her down. The girl's complexion looked increasingly pale. She bowed very respectfully to thank Dr. Chan, making him feel slightly awkward. After expressing her thanks, the girl turned to leave, but instead of heading towards the village, she walked towards the northern mountain upstream. Dr. Chan watched her retreating back, a strange feeling persisting. Who lives up on that northern mountain? He wondered. As he pondered, he glanced down and spotted something. On the ground lay a wicker basket. The girl had been clutching it tightly just moments ago, but now it was forgotten there. Dr. Chan quickly picked up the basket and turned, intending to catch up and call her back, but when he looked up, the path ahead was completely empty. She had vanished. Dr. Chan's heart suddenly tightened. She had just claimed to be very weak. How could she have moved so fast and disappeared in an instant? At that moment, he had an odd feeling, but couldn't quite put his finger on what was amiss. However, with a patient waiting, he didn't have time to ponder further. He took the forgotten basket and hurried towards the village, thinking the woman might also be going there and he could return it then. After walking a bit further, Dr. Chan reached the young man's house. The family's elderly father was already waiting at the gate to welcome him. The old man urgently invited Dr. Chan in to check on the prolonged labor. Dr. Chan followed him, casually placing the basket he was carrying onto a stone table in the courtyard. Traditionally, in the countryside at that time, childbirth was handled solely by midwives, and men like Dr. Chan typically wouldn't get involved. But this was an emergency, leaving no alternative. The old man anxiously urged the doctor to take a look. Following custom, Dr. Chan brushed the dust off himself outside before following the old man into the house. Inside, Dr. Chan saw the wife lying on the earthen bed, while a midwife worked, sweating heavily. The baby had yet to be born. Family members prayed incessantly, and the midwife's brow was beaded with sweat as the baby's head still hadn't crowned. The mother was now very weak, her face deathly pale and colorless. Family members gave her some water and encouraged her to push a little more. The midwife anxiously stated that if the baby didn't arrive soon, both mother and child could be in critical danger. Assessing the situation, Dr. Chan immediately administered a saline 4 drip to the mother and prepared to help the midwife with the delivery. Just at that moment, fierce barking erupted outside, though it wasn't clear whose dog it was. In the midst of the tension, the loud barking was bothersome, so the elderly woman asked the old man to go shoo the dog away. The old man went outside to scold and chase the dog away. Meanwhile, Dr. Chan glanced out the window into the courtyard and noticed something unusual about the dog's barking. The large dog was staring fixedly at the basket Dr. Chan had left on the stone table, barking incessantly and frantically. Seeing the dog's persistent barking, a strange thought suddenly occurred to Dr. Chan. He momentarily set aside the difficult delivery, rushing out into the courtyard like an arrow, surprising everyone inside. In the courtyard, the large dog continued its frantic barking, ignoring the old man's scolding. Moreover, the dog kept its intense gaze fixed on the basket, as if sensing something dangerous within. Dr. Chan was starting to understand. He ran the few steps to the stone table, his hand slightly trembling as he reached out to grasp the basket. The basket looked ordinary, covered by a blue cloth. Dr. Chan carefully and slowly lifted the fabric. Sure enough, just as he suspected, inside the basket lay the body of a deceased infant. The infant had clearly died soon after birth. Its skin was still wrinkled and purplish, likely deceased for less than 2 days. His suspicion confirmed, Dr. Chan fully understood the situation. He reached down and lifted the basket. The very moment the basket lifted off the stone table, Dr. Chan suddenly heard a baby's loud cry resounding from inside the house. Then the midwife's joyful exclamations came from the house, congratulating the family on the safe arrival of the baby boy, mother and child both doing well. Dr. Chan now completely understood. The woman likely wasn't human, but the spirit of a mother who died in childbirth. Folklore held that ghosts couldn't cross running water, and the child needed reincarnation. The mother didn't want to delay her child passage. He had helped both mother and child cross the stream. Perhaps the mother, knowing he was headed to this house, had left the infant for him. Unwittingly, he had placed the basket on the stone table, and folk belief held that such stones could suppress spirits, preventing the infant's soul from moving on. His work at the house was finally complete, but the infant's body still needed proper handling. That night, Dr. Chan took the basket to the home of a spirit medium. The spirit medium's home was a place of worship, and she specialized in ceremonies to help the souls of infants who died prematurely or shortly after birth find peace. The medium's physical eyesight was poor, making it hard for her to see people, but rumor had it she could perceive other things quite clearly. "What is the matter with this child?" she asked Dr. Chan. Dr. Chan briefly explained his encounter with the spirits by the stream. "Perhaps the mother just wanted to accompany her child part of the way," he said gently. "I nearly hindered them." After hearing the story, the medium uttered a series of mystical pronouncements. She stated the child's soul had already moved on to reincarnation, and she would help bury the physical remains. However, the mother's spirit still had to journey through the underworld. Giving birth for a woman is like walking close to the gates of hell. That's why folk wisdom says the gate of birth is the gate of death. Logically, as a doctor, Chan shouldn't have believed in such supernatural occurrences. But having spent his entire life in the countryside, he knew some things couldn't be dismissed simply through disbelief. Although the medium firmly refused payment, Dr. Chan still left a small offering for incense and candles before he left. Having practiced medicine for half his life, Dr. Chan had encountered countless oddities. He had even learned some methods for warding off evil spirits, elements often intertwined with traditional medicine that were difficult for ordinary people to comprehend. This is yet another strange story that Dr. Chan encountered during his medical career. A woman from the village was walking ahead, hurrying while turning back to urge Dr. Chan to keep up. Her husband, who had been healthy and working that morning, had suddenly suffered an epileptic seizure. Dr. Chan continuously comforted her, telling her not to panic, and asked her to briefly describe her husband's condition so he could prepare. She explained that her husband and father were digging a pit in the courtyard to store vegetables that morning. While working normally, he suddenly collapsed and started convulsing like someone having an epileptic fit. Hearing this, Dr. Chan felt somewhat relieved, as epilepsy, if managed promptly by someone nearby, doesn't usually pose a life-threatening risk. The two hurried along with long strides. Upon entering the house, the wife immediately inquired about her husband's condition. Dr. Chan saw an elderly couple standing by the bed with anxious expressions. Their family had only one son for generations. To the old couple, this son was their heart and soul. At this moment, needless to say, their anxiety was extreme. Seeing Dr. Chan, they seemed to shed some of their unease. They quickly pulled him over, explaining their son's condition. They said he had never experienced anything like this before, suddenly convulsing violently today. The doctor didn't hesitate, immediately walking to the bedside to carefully observe the son lying there. He saw the young man's eyes wide open, veins bulging on his forehead, teeth clenched as he stared fixedly at the doctor, his body convulsing uncontrollably. Seeing this, Dr. Chan's heart skipped a beat. He had encountered many epileptic patients, but the symptoms before him didn't resemble typical epilepsy at all. Dr. Chan asked the wife to bring him a chair. He sat down beside the bed and reached out to take the man's pulse. Although traditional Chinese medicine wasn't as popular as Western medicine in recent years, his pulse-taking skills were still very solid. After a short while, Dr. Chan accurately assessed the pulse, his expression suddenly frowning. He told the family the man's pulse was chaotic. These were not symptoms of epilepsy. Not epilepsy? Then what illness is it? Hearing it wasn't epilepsy, the old man immediately pressed for answers, unable to hide his anxiety. Dr. Chan opened his medical kit, taking out a small wooden box from within. Inside was a set of silver acupuncture needles, the tools he used most often. This very set had saved countless lives in critical condition. As he worked, he explained that two streams of qi, vital energy, were clashing within the man's body, leading him to suspect possession. Hearing this, the family completely failed to understand what possession meant as an illness, but seeing Dr. Chan's serious expression, they knew immediately this was certainly not an easy matter to resolve. Dr. Chan instructed the wife to remove her husband's outer shirt, leaving him bare-chested and lying face up on the bed. Dr. Chan picked up a silver needle and carefully inserted it into the patient's forehead. The family didn't understand what was happening, holding their breath and staring intently. With skilled hands, Dr. Chan successively inserted 7 silver needles into 7 acupoints on the man's body. At that exact moment, the son's entire body suddenly bulged with green veins. He clenched his teeth tightly, as if desperately resisting something, yet it didn't feel like he was enduring pain, but rather forcefully fighting back. Seeing her son react so suddenly, the old woman became extremely worried, asking questions continuously. But the father trusted Dr. Chan's skills and kept reassuring her. With the needles inserted, the man thrashed even more violently, his hands and feet scratching and kicking wildly as if resisting, but clearly not by his own will, as the movements were entirely beyond his control. At this moment, Dr. Chan quickly took an object from his bag and pressed it firmly onto the man's forehead. It was a paperweight, the kind people use to hold down paper while writing. As soon as it touched the forehead, strangely, the paperweight seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds, instantly stopping all resistance. Seeing her son suddenly become still, the old woman anxiously asked Dr. Chan what illness her son actually had. Dr. Chan informed them that he had temporarily suppressed it. Now he needed everyone to tell him if the son had encountered anything strange beforehand. The wife quickly recounted that her husband and father-in-law were digging a pit for a vegetable cellar that morning, and halfway through the work he suddenly fell ill. The old man elaborated further. The two of them were digging the vegetable cellar pit in the backyard that morning. When they had dug over a meter deep, something happened. Suddenly, he heard a clank sound from behind. Turning around, he saw his son had thrown the shovel to the ground. In recent years, the son, Sheng, had been working as a laborer in town and grew increasingly reluctant to do farm work. His father thought he was acting up again, unwilling to work. He turned and scolded, "You brat! What now, don't want to work again?" But just as he finished speaking, he saw his son fall backward. Only then did the father realize something was wrong with his son. The father rushed over to help his son up, but by then the young man's eyes had rolled back. He was foaming at the mouth and his body was convulsing uncontrollably. The old man had previously seen his neighbor's youngest son have an epileptic seizure, and the condition looked exactly like his own son's now. Thinking his son had epilepsy, the old man called his wife and daughter-in-law to quickly carry him back home. They tried pressing the philtrum acupoint and rubbing his chest, but saw no improvement, so they hastily told the daughter-in-law to fetch Dr. Chan. Hearing this, combined with the man's symptoms, Dr. Chan had already formed a hypothesis. He asked the old man to lead the way to the backyard to see the newly dug pit. The old man dared not delay, quickly leading Dr. Chan to the pit in the backyard. Both the old woman and the daughter-in-law followed. Dr. Chan stood observing carefully. The pit was only about a meter deep. The father and son hadn't dug very deep that morning. After observing for a moment, Dr. Chan seemed to notice some issues and immediately jumped into the pit. He bent down, touched the soil with his hands, examining it closely. The cross-section of the pit revealed several different types of soil layered on top of each other. Seeing Dr. Chan's puzzling actions, the old man wondered why he wasn't examining the patient but kept staring into the pit. But the old woman seemed to understand, reassuring him that Dr. Chan was highly skilled and might have discovered the problem. Dr. Chan scraped some soil, sniffed it, then turned his head again to carefully observe the surrounding terrain of their house. This family's house was built not long ago, right on the edge of the village, on land allocated by the village when the son got married. Beyond the surrounding wall was the North Mountain. After observing for a while, Dr. Chan began asking the old man's family about the year the house was built and who chose the land plot. The old man said the family previously lived in an old small house. When the son married, the family grew larger and couldn't fit, so the village allocated them a piece of land. When building the house, they didn't consult anyone for geomancy feng shui, feeling that if they didn't understand it, there was no need to bother with such matters. After asking, Dr. Chan turned and walked back into the house. The family didn't understand what he was up to, but dared not ask further, silently following him inside. Once everyone was inside, Dr. Chan spoke, saying the son didn't have epilepsy. While digging the vegetable pit, he had disturbed something. That thing had entered his body and wanted to take it over. Hearing this, the old couple became extremely worried. They knew Dr. Chan was not only skilled in medicine, but also knowledgeable about yin and yang matters, often helping people resolve strange occurrences. Thus, they hurriedly pleaded with him to save their son. Dr. Chan spoke gravely, adding that the entity was very difficult to deal with. It wanted to possess the man's body, and he had only temporarily suppressed it with the silver needles and the stone paperweight. Dr. Chan told the father to quickly prepare a few things, saying that at 6 o'clock, when it was completely dark, he would expel the entity from the son's body. The old man followed the doctor's instructions, found several strong men from the village to help, prepared some shovels, and gathered all the necessary items. Darkness gradually fell. Everything was ready. The helpers invited by the old man had gathered in the house, just waiting for the right time to follow Dr. Chan's instructions. Everyone waited anxiously nearby. Finally, Dr. Chan announced it was time and asked if everyone was ready. Everyone around held up the items prepared according to Dr. Chan's request, including several stones from near the latrine and a cattle whip borrowed from a neighbor. Dr. Chan explained that ghosts greatly fear human qi, especially unclean qi. Stones from around the latrine could make ghosts retreat. As for the cattle whip against ghosts, it couldn't make them dissipate, but could at least weaken them by 30%. Dr. Chan assigned tasks to everyone, reminding each person to follow the plan precisely without any mistakes. When digging down to the black soil layer, one person holding stones should stand beside the pit. If black gas was seen, they should throw the stones hard and quickly fill the pit back up. The strong young men from the village covered their mouths and noses with red cloth. According to Dr. Chan, this was to prevent anything from entering the body through the mouth and nose. These men quickly grabbed their tools and ran straight to the backyard. At this time, Dr. Chan instructed others to lift the patient off the bed. Dr. Chan took the cattle whip and walked behind the young man. The old couple didn't understand what he intended to do, feeling anxious and their hearts pounding. The young man was held tightly by two strong young men, unable to move. At this moment, Dr. Chan raised the whip high behind him and shouted loudly, "From where you came, return there quickly!" The heavy cattle whip struck the back. Immediately, the man let out a horrible scream and simultaneously, a black shadow resembling a skeleton flashed out from his body. Right after, Dr. Chan swung the whip again. This time, the veins on the son's forehead bulged prominently. The black shadow seemed to be enduring extreme agony and emerged a little further. Giving it no chance to breathe, Dr. Chan once again swung the whip forcefully. This time, the black shadow could bear it no longer. Unwillingly, it shot out of the son's body and fled straight out the door. At this point, everyone in the house stood stunned, having never witnessed such a scene. The son, meanwhile, went limp and fainted. The dark shadow quickly rushed towards the pit in the backyard, where the others were standing guard. Strangely, the black shadow poured into the black soil pit like a bucket of dirty water and instantly vanished without a trace. The young men, though mentally prepared, were quite frightened. Each stood frozen, unsure what to do. When Dr. Chan ran out to the backyard and saw the scene, he immediately shouted loudly, "Quick, throw the stones in, press it down!" Only then did the men snap back to reality, hastily throwing the stones from the latrine into the pit. Afterwards, they quickly used shovels to fill the pit with earth. Everything was finally completed according to Dr. Chan's instructions. He then turned back and went inside the house. The son had regained consciousness but remembered nothing of what had happened before. Although his body was still a bit weak, luckily there were no serious issues, and the family felt relieved. Dr. Chan checked him one more time, prescribed sedatives, instructed him to take them on time, advised eating light food for the next few days, then turned to prepare to leave. The family expressed immense gratitude and saw Dr. Chan off at the door. He added that there was a lonely grave in the backyard. Today, it had only been temporarily suppressed. To ensure future safety, the family should hold a proper ritual, choose a new location, and quickly relocate it. The next day, Following Dr. Chan's advice, the old man hired people to perform a ritual. Just as the doctor had said, they dug up a dilapidated old coffin from the pit in the backyard. Afterwards, they quickly found someone to select a new location and moved it. From then on, the family lived in peace. Another strange story about Dr. Chan, a talented and virtuous rural physician. Dr. Chan often traveled from village to examine and treat people regardless of day or night. He was highly respected by everyone in the area. That time, Dr. Chan visited a farmer's family in a neighboring village. After checking the pulse and prescribing medicine, the family was deeply grateful and saw him off at the door. The doctor respectfully folded his hands in farewell. Thanks to his skills in traditional pulse checking and acupuncture, combined with some inherited remedies, Dr. Chan had saved many lives. That day, after finishing treating an elderly woman, it was already past 9 at night, so he had to travel home in the dark. Illness can strike at any time, regardless of day or night. As long as someone called for help, Dr. Chan never refused. So, waking early and returning late became routine for him. The distance to that farmer's house wasn't short, more than 10 kilometers, and once he left the village, it was all deserted fields with barely any homes around. Dr. Chan was known for his righteous aura and never feared anything wherever he went. He used to say that evil could never defeat righteousness. But that night, on his way home, he truly encountered something strange. As he walked, Dr. Chan vaguely heard soft footsteps behind him, sometimes near, sometimes far, seemingly following him. At first, he suspected a thief, taking advantage of the dark to rob him, so he stayed alert. But he didn't stop walking, just glanced back subtly. To his surprise, there was nothing behind him except some old, desolate graves. He found it odd. His hearing had always been sharp. He couldn't have been mistaken. Yet, no matter how carefully he looked, no one seemed to be following. At that moment, another possibility crossed his mind. He was in a deserted place. If what was following him wasn't human, then... Thinking this, Dr. Chan became tense. He glanced back at the dark, empty fields, unsure what was lurking there, and instinctively quickened his pace. But no matter how fast he walked, the quiet footsteps still followed him, not too close yet not far behind. It wasn't until he reached the village entrance that he saw it clearly, a faint shadow trailing him, humanoid in form. Upon arriving at his doorstep, he spat 3 times on the ground and stomped on the spits, saying it would prevent unclean spirits from entering the house. Dr. Chan stepped inside, bolted the door, and walked further in. He believed that even if the spits weren't enough to stop it, the guardian deity paintings on the doors would keep it out. But he was wrong. As he turned toward his room, he noticed something strange about the door. That thing, like mist or smoke, slipped right through the door, inching its way into the courtyard. Before long, the entire shadow had entered the yard, an eerie and terrifying sight. Dr. Chan thought to himself, "This spirit is persistent, following me home." But he knew that such beings should be left alone if possible. So, he ignored it, washed up, and sat at his desk on the heated bed, resuming his prescription writing. His knowledge of traditional medicine was passed down from his father. Even though many now preferred Western medicine, he believed only Eastern medicine could truly cure ailments, so he was devoted to studying and preserving ancient remedies, analyzing the properties and theories of herbs in his spare time. The shadow stood outside the window, staring intently at Dr. Chan. but he paid it no mind. With such entities, ignoring them usually made them lose interest and leave. Reacting could lead to persistent haunting. Seeing that Dr. Chan kept ignoring it, buried in his writing, it puffed its cheeks in frustration outside the window. Then, it blew a cold gust of air from its mouth into the house. Strangely, the cold air passed right through the window frame, stirring the papers inside. The prescriptions he had just written were blown into the air, scattered everywhere. Dr. Chan figured maybe it had come to ask for help. Ignoring it wouldn't work anymore, so he called it in. "You followed me all the way here, now you're causing trouble. Do you want me to help you with something?" As it entered, Dr. Chan put down his brush and asked why it had been following and disturbing him. As they talked, he noticed it trembling, so he got up and retrieved some candles and offerings from the altar. He set up incense, candles, and some snacks as offerings, saying they were food for wandering spirits. The shadow began to gobble down the offerings as if it were truly eating them. "Now speak. Why exactly are you looking for me?" As it finished eating, Dr. Chan questioned its intent. It said it had tried contacting many people, but only Dr. Chan could sense its presence, so it hoped he could help. It began telling its story. Its name was Dao. After a failed harvest, it followed some fellow villagers to the city to work in construction. But when the job was done, the subcontractor fled with the money. Dao and others not only didn't get paid but were also beaten. The contractor even took Dao's ID while fleeing. With no job, no money, and unable to reach family, Dao had to scavenge for food. Eventually, unable to stay in the city, Dao decided to walk home. Along the way, a heavy rainstorm hit. Dao walked in the rain, no village ahead, no shelter behind, soaked to the bone. In the distance, he spotted a collapsed brick kiln in a field and decided to take shelter there. But upon getting closer, he saw the kiln was very old. Most of it had already crumbled. He hesitated. If it collapsed while he was inside, he'd die and become a wandering ghost. But staying outside in the cold rain after days without food would also be fatal. Looking at the rain with no sign of stopping, he gritted his teeth and left it to fate. He had to crawl in through the collapsed entrance to get inside. Exhausted and soaked, Tao leaned against the kiln wall and passed out. Days of wandering had drained him. The sleep this time was deep and heavy. He collapsed onto the cold, damp ground, his head resting on broken bricks, still sound asleep. No one knows how long he slept, but a loud noise suddenly jolted him awake. He jumped up and saw the kiln shaking violently, starting to collapse, bricks and dirt falling from above. The kiln was so old that part of the roof caved in, triggering the rest to fall. Dao realized if he didn't get out quickly, he'd be buried alive and truly become a ghost. He jumped up to run, but suddenly 4 hands reached from behind and grabbed him tightly. Everything happened too fast. He was terrified and couldn't react in time. He didn't know who was holding him, but he was sure he was alone in the kiln. He tried to reach forward to escape and look back to see who it was. What he saw nearly made him faint. 2 thin, shriveled ghosts were clinging to him. He struggled with all his might, but it was no use. The ghosts dragged him down. He tried to scream, but the collapsing noise drowned his cries. Bricks and dirt piled on top of him until he was completely buried. That rainy night, Dao died quietly in the old brick kiln. No one ever knew. After telling his story, Tao hung his head as if sobbing. He said he had roamed as a lonely ghost for 3 years, until Dr. Chan sensed him. Dr. Chan originally planned to use spiritual methods to drive the ghost away, but after hearing the story, he changed his mind. He promised to help find Dao's remains and contact his family. The ghost, grateful that its wish was fulfilled, thanked him repeatedly and left. True to his word, the very next day Dr. Chan gathered some strong men to search for the remains at the old kiln site Tao had mentioned. Though the kiln had collapsed beyond recognition, after some searching they found the spot. The workers dug diligently under his guidance. After a while, someone shouted, "Dr. Chan, we found it!" With Dr. Chan's help, it didn't take much effort to find something. He rushed over to check. Under the debris, they uncovered a skeleton, clearly years old, reduced to dry bones. Dr. Chan confirmed it was Dao's remains. He asked the workers to keep digging, and soon they found 2 more skeletons nearby. In total, 3 skeletons were found. Dr. Chan called the police. Thanks to his frequent cooperation with authorities, there were no issues. With the info he provided, the police located Dao's family. As for the other 2 remains, they led to another mysterious case. But that is another story. This is another strange story about Dr. Chan, a righteous rural physician. That year, he traveled to another region to purchase medicinal herbs. That area was known for its many rare and precious herbs, and Dr. Chan would go there once every year to procure them. This particular year, Dr. Chan had already received a shipment from a familiar seller. Since it was still early, he decided to take a stroll around town. Because his previous trips were always rushed, he never had the chance to truly experience the local customs and people. This time, with ample time, Dr. Chan wanted to explore a bit. Dr. Chan wandered aimlessly. Turning into a small alley, he saw from afar an old woman being pushed out of a medicine shop. The scene immediately caught Dr. Chan's attention, and he stopped to see what was happening. He saw the old woman clasping her hands, pleading incessantly. Her words indicated her husband was gravely ill at home and unable to go out. She just wanted the doctor in the shop to make a house call. But because the old woman's home was quite far, the doctor in the shop refused to go. Despite her pleas, they still pushed her out the door. Finally, the shop owner lost patience and threw out a callous remark. "You don't look young either. I won't argue with you. Go away quickly. Don't disturb my business." After saying this, he slammed the door shut. The old woman could only stand there stunned, staring at the tightly closed door of the medicine shop. After a moment, the old woman came to her senses. Realizing she couldn't get the medicine, tears immediately streamed down her face. Wiping her tears with her sleeve, she turned to leave. Old Dr. Chan was a warm-hearted person and couldn't bear to see such scenes. He quickly approached and asked the old woman what had happened. As soon as the question was asked, the old woman's eyes filled with tears again. She looked up at the stranger before her, sighed, and recounted her sad story. It turned out the old woman had no children and lived only with her frail, elderly husband. Now her husband was seriously ill and couldn't walk. She went out to find a doctor, but unexpectedly, the medicine shops refused, not only because she had no money for the consultation fee, but also because of the distance. Several shops had already turned her away. Dr. Chan deeply disliked unethical doctors who turned away patients. He himself traveled through streets and alleys to treat people, never shying away from long distances. Sometimes, even if patients had no money, he would still willingly treat them. Hearing the old woman's story, old Dr. Chan decided he would go to her home to examine her husband. Dr. Chan expressed his willingness to make a house call, which made the old woman overjoyed. After a morning full of setbacks, she hadn't expected to meet such a kind person. He asked for directions to her house. The old woman happily pointed towards her home, clearly indicating its location. A house on the other side of the mountain slope. Dr. Chan turned his head to look in the direction she pointed. In the distance, he saw a lush green mountain. The distance was considerable. He immediately understood why the doctors at the medicine shops were unwilling to make the trip. However, undeterred by the difficulty, he stepped forward, supported the old woman, reassured her not to worry, and then urged her to set off quickly so her husband's condition wouldn't worsen. The old woman happily led the way for the doctor. Leaving the town, the path was all mountain roads, inconvenient for transport. They could only walk. The two walked until sunset before reaching the foot of the mountain. Indeed, the saying, "Seeing the mountain makes the horse run itself to death," meaning the destination looks closer than it is, was true. Dr. Chan was physically fit. This distance was nothing to him. But for the old woman, walking the mountain path twice in one day was truly difficult. He had her sit on a boulder by the roadside to rest and drink water, allowing her to regain strength. The old woman rested for a bit. After drinking some water to recover her energy, she looked at Dr. Chan and thanked him profusely. Dr. Chan looked at the path ahead with some concern. He saw that the way forward was a steep uphill mountain trail. Furthermore, it was already getting dark. He worried she wouldn't be able to manage. Once darkness fell, the small mountain paths were obscured under the tree canopy. Without light, the mountain road became even more difficult to navigate. Dr. Chan carefully observed the terrain, then bent down low, intending to carry the old woman on his back for the remaining mountain journey. The old woman tremblingly climbed onto Dr. Chan's back, her voice choked with emotion, thanking heaven for letting her meet such a good person. Childless all her life, she had never experienced such care from anyone. In fact, Dr. Chan's parents had also passed away early. At this moment, carrying the old woman, he couldn't help but think of his own mother. Perhaps that was also why he was so willing to help this woman. Throughout the journey, the old woman kept asking Dr. Chan if he was tired, saying he could put her down if he was. Though sweat beaded on his forehead and cheeks, old Chan just smiled and reassured her he wasn't tired. Just like that, Dr. Chan carried the old woman along the dark, difficult mountain path for another half hour or more. Finally, in a clearing within the forest, a house appeared. The old woman said that was her home. Reaching the front door, the old woman seemed very happy to have finally arrived and quickly asked Dr. Chan to put her down. The old woman staggered to the front door and called loudly inside, "Old man, I've brought the doctor." Then she pushed the door open, warmly thanking Dr. Chan for his trouble and invited him inside. Dr. Chan stepped inside, and as he looked around, his heart sank slightly. The old woman's house was truly destitute, with almost nothing in it. There wasn't a single decent piece of furniture, only a few daily necessities. The air smelled damp and musty from lack of ventilation. Dr. Chan scanned the room, his gaze stopping at the earthen bed inside. In the dim light, he saw an old man seemingly over 70 lying there. The old woman sighed, then told Dr. Chan about her husband's condition. His health was already weak, and recently his old illness had recurred. He couldn't eat or drink, couldn't even speak. Worried, she had gone down the mountain multiple times to seek a doctor, only to be refused each time. After hearing the old woman's account, Dr. Chan walked to the earthen bed and carefully observed the ailing old man. He saw the old man's eyes and cheeks were deeply sunken, his complexion sallow, his breathing faint like a thread. This immediately made Dr. Chan frown. Seeing Dr. Chan frown, the old woman thought her husband had no hope left. Her voice trembling, she asked if her husband was beyond saving. Dr. Chan quickly reassured the old woman that there was still time, then asked if she had any bird feathers in the house. Hearing this, the old woman was somewhat puzzled, but didn't dare question further, quickly turning to find one. Not long after, the old woman returned with a feather in her hand, presenting it to Dr. Chan and asking if it would do. Dr. Chan took the feather, then instructed the old woman to open her husband's mouth. Though surprised, she complied. Dr. Chan gently inserted the bird feather into the old man's throat, tickling it slightly. Immediately, they heard the old man making coughing sounds from deep within his throat. Following that, the old man suddenly opened his eyes wide, opened his mouth, and sat bolt upright in bed. A loud cough erupted, and a thick, dark ball of phlegm was spat onto the ground. "Old man, are you all right?" The old woman anxiously moved closer to check on her husband, while Dr. Chan explained his condition. The old man was simply choked by a thick mass of phlegm in his throat. Coughing it up would resolve the issue. Indeed, just as Dr. Chan said, after coughing up the phlegm, the old man's complexion improved significantly. One could even say he was fine. Soon, the old man regained some strength. Supported by the old woman, he sat up and clasped his hands in, thanks to Dr. Chan. He expressed his gratitude, but due to his weakened state, could only sit on the bed and not perform a full bow. His words and gestures didn't resemble those of an ordinary mountain dweller, but possessed the air of someone experienced in the ways of the Jianghu. Dr. Chan, being well versed in the ways of the world, noticed the peculiarity but showed nothing, merely clasping his hands lightly in return. "You are too kind, sir. Treating the sick and saving lives is my duty." The two men found they got along well as they talked. During the conversation, Dr. Chan took the old man's pulse again. The chat continued, and soon it was past 11 o'clock at night. The old man was childless, living with his wife in seclusion in the mountains. He used to work as a woodsman and mountain guardian, but old age and recurring illness prevented him from earning a living, forcing him to sell everything they owned for treatment, leading to their current impoverished state. Dr. Chan admired the old man's character and didn't hide anything, directly stating the illness was due to long-term invasion of yin-cold toxicity. He then asked if the old man had ever been a earth burrower, a Jianghu term for a tomb raider. The old man didn't deny it, immediately admitting it. He knew well his illness couldn't be cured and was living day by day. The old man, deeply grateful for Dr. Chan's noble medical ethics, lamented how rare it was to find someone with such integrity these days. He decided to gift to Chan a treasure. Then the old man pointed towards the window. Dr. Chan didn't understand his meaning and could only turn his head to look where the old man indicated. He saw only the swaying shadows of trees outside the window, pitch black, seemingly nothing unusual. While Dr. Chan was still confused, he saw the old woman carrying something, slowly walking towards an ancient tree. She bent down as if placing the object on the ground, then silently returned. Dr. Chan truly couldn't guess what this old couple was plotting, when suddenly something moved in the forest, immediately catching his eye. Under the moonlight, a small creature ambled out from the dense woods, slowly approaching the boulder where the old woman had just placed something. As the creature came closer, Dr. Chan saw clearly. It was a child about 2 or 3 years old, plump all over with rosy skin. A small tuft of hair on top of its head was tied with a red string, standing out in the moonlight. Dr. Chan's heart leaped. He never expected to encounter a legendary treasure in such a remote mountain forest. Correct, it was a ginseng child. Dr. Chan had already guessed what it was, but still turned to look at the old man, wanting to understand his intention clearly. The old man explained that he and his wife had been luring this ginseng child with delicious food and toys for 3 years, originally planning to catch it himself once he recovered, but unexpectedly his illness worsened. Meeting Dr. Chan today was fate, so he decided to gift this treasure as repayment. Then he had the old woman bring out a bag containing prepared tools, handing it directly to Dr. Chan. Dr. Chan took the bag of tools from the old woman. The old man urged the doctor to leave immediately, carefully adding that he had told his wife to place a pellet drum on the large boulder. The ginseng would definitely kill it, and the doctor should follow the sound of the drum. Finally, the old man sternly warned him. Where a ginseng child resides, there's certainly more than one precious ginseng root, but Dr. Chan should only take one plant, not be greedy, and leave a path for life. Dr. Chan, familiar with herb gathering, understood the rules of harvesting ginseng in deep forests and nodded in agreement. Carrying the tool pack on his back, Dr. Chan bid farewell to the old couple and turned to leave the house. Before he left, the old woman reminded him to be careful as the journey would be difficult. Once outside, Dr. Chan surveyed the terrain, quickly chose a hidden spot, concealed himself, and waited for the ginseng child's movement. Not long after, the ginseng child finished the food on the boulder, picked up the pellet drum, and staggered deeper into the dense forest, shaking the drum as it went. The doctor dared not delay, stealthily following close behind the ginseng child step by step. He tried to walk as lightly as possible, fearing it would detect him. One human, one spirit, wound through the deep forest for over 10 minutes. The ginseng child finally stopped moving. Dr. Chan thought to himself, "This must be where it resides." Indeed, the ginseng child stood still in place, then gradually sank into the earth. Only when it had completely disappeared beneath the ground did Dr. Chan quickly emerge from his hiding place behind the tree, knowing his chance had come. Arriving at the spot where the ginseng child had just vanished, Dr. Chan couldn't help but feel overjoyed. Before him was a patch of ginseng, all plants with 5 leaves or more. There were even several with 7 leaves. Even an experienced person like him could hardly hide his delight. Dr. Chan found a large stone, opened the bundle the old man had prepared, and took out a roll of red string. He used the red string to encircle several ginseng plants. This was a common method used by ginseng hunters, ostensibly to prevent the ginseng from running away, but actually a way to mark the location. Because darkness limited visibility, fearing he might damage the ginseng roots if he dug greedily in the night, Dr. Chan, after marking the spot, sat cross-legged under a large tree, waiting until morning to begin digging. The next morning, as soon as it was light, Dr. Chan took out 3 incense sticks and planted them before a large boulder. This was the custom of ginseng diggers, thanking the mountain god for bestowing the treasure. Although he didn't make a living this way, he still performed the ritual sincerely, burning incense and kowtowing as tradition dictated. The tools prepared by the old man were very handy. After some busy work, Dr. Chan had unearthed a ginseng root, complete with all its rootlets. Being very familiar with this medicinal herb, he could estimate its value just by holding and weighing it. Dr. Chan carefully wrapped the ginseng root in moss and bark, slung it onto his back, and returned to the old man's house. Seeing he had harvested a high-quality root, the old couple was overjoyed. But because Dr. Chan had business to attend to back home, he didn't stay long, simply bidding them farewell before departing. Before leaving, he wrote a prescription, saying that if taken persistently, it could expel the yin-cold toxicity from the old man's body. The necessary herbs could all be gathered in the mountains. The old couple was extremely grateful and saw him off to the edge of the mountain. Dr. Chan brought the ginseng down the mountain, found a buyer and sold it for a good price. However, he didn't keep the money for himself, but used it to buy a large quantity of rice, salt, oil, and nourishing medicinal herbs, arranging for someone to deliver it all up the mountain as a gift to the old couple. The story of Dr. Chan's good deed being rewarded with treasure ends here, but this is just one of countless small anecdotes in the legendary life of this righteous rural physician.